Hello everyone, this is Calvin Russell, CEO and founder of 850 Club Credit Consultation. Hope everyone's doing well today. Today we're going to talk about 7 jobs that run your credit. Well, they don't look at the credit score, but they do a credit check before they hire you. Okay. Now, of course, some of you all may have gotten these jobs anyway, but you may not have even known that they do a credit check. Okay. And you're probably saying, well, what all can they see? All right. So number one, there are actually a few states, before we go into the 7 jobs, there are actually a few states that limit how much information that companies can actually see. Okay. Now, I wrote them down just to make sure I didn't mess the list up. So let me go ahead and grab that list right here, actually. Okay, there we go. So now those states include California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. Okay. Now, they can still check your credit history. They just can't see everything. Okay. They can see the heavy stuff. What's heavy stuff? Student loan, if your student loan is in default or if it's delinquent. Okay. If you have previous bankruptcies, if you have a foreclosure. Okay. I don't think repossessions play a role. I don't think late payments play that much of a role in those particular states if you're looking for a particular job. But if your state is not on that list, then they're seeing a lot more than the heavy stuff. Okay. But keep in mind, it's not every industry, but the top 7 industries that a lot of people may not know about, I'm going to go ahead and go over the list real quickly. Okay. The number 1 is going to be a parking booth operator. Okay. So now we're not talking about your traditional, garage place that's going out of there. We're talking like, I would think more so like toll booths. Okay. Toll booths, maybe if you're crossing the border going into Canada or something like that or whatever, but again, these types of jobs, the reason being is because there's a lot of transactions that are going through. Now, here's the deal. You're probably like, well, no, at McDonald's they take money, right? Yeah, at the same time, sometimes you have different currency. Sometimes you have, people paying, like $100 bill or whatever the case may be. And I understand people don't deal with that in fast food. But again, that's a government type job. So if you're dealing with a government type job, they got to make sure that you're trustworthy. It's a shame that credit plays a role with trustworthiness. And again, they're not looking at the major things like, payment history, but that does play a role if you've had bankruptcies and things of that sort, or if you got multiple people that you promised to pay and that you didn't. And so they feel like if you don't care about those bills, you're not going to care about, if someone gets the correct change back. I don't know if you guys have ever done the math, but a nickel or 10 cents or 25 cents that, from every client, from every person that goes like a toll booth, that starts to add up. And they want to make sure that, they got the right person behind there. So again, it sucks, but that's just what it is. All right. Number 2 is going to be the military. The reason being, they want to make sure that they have the right type of person, especially when you're dealing with something where, you got guns, you got to have the right mental capacity. And again, I'm not saying that because I know some people, they most definitely did not have great credit going into the military. But at the same time, these are things that they could check for. But most of the people that go into the military anyway, they're fresh out of high school. So if they're fresh out of high school or something like that, or they're very young, they probably haven't had a lot of credit, and just to begin with anyway. So again, to have and then of course with the recent law that just got passed, tax liens, judgments, that type of stuff, that's not on the report anyway like it used to be back in the day. But you still got bankruptcy, you still got foreclosures, things of that sort. But again, you don't have too much to worry about in that particular arena because if you're going into the military, most of the time people are young. But just kind of keep that in mind. Number 3 is going to be accounting. Okay. So now if you are an accountant, most of the time when you're trying to get your license and things of that sort, they're going to make sure, especially if you're looking to get work for a big firm or just a firm in general, most firms are going to do some form of credit check. If you can't get financial advice if you don't have your things in order, I think that's very basic. Now, of course, there's a lot of doctors giving health advice, but let's be honest. If you want to lose weight, you want to talk to, you want to make sure your personal trainer's fit. Let's be honest, right? Or if you want to get relationship advice, you at least want to talk to somebody who's been in a long time relationship, or they don't really have like a lot of, don't get me wrong, everyone has their issues, things of that sort, but it's all about how you handle it. But if you're talking to someone, that's going through a lot of that stuff, whatever, whatever, and they have a successful relationship. I don't want to make this about relationships, but you guys get what I'm saying. You want to make sure that if you're getting advice, it has to be from someone that knows what they're talking about, right? That's also walking the walk, talking the talk. All right. So let's keep going with that. An accountant, trust me, let me know, let me find out my accountant. And don't get me wrong, people do have issues. They need to be prepared for them. But they also need to be good at handling those issues, because they're supposed to be also a person that you can trust with that type of vital information that you're getting advice from as well too. You're getting their opinions. Everything that they say matters. It's very difficult to try to get information from someone if they haven't really had that type of situation, or if they haven't seen it before. But you want to make sure that they themselves are not in a horrible situation themselves financially, at least at the beginning, right? So you got that. TSA. This one kind of surprised me, but again, a government job. So the reason why is because they're seeing so many different types of people come in, but again, I know people that that have applied to be TSA, that work through TSA, and I know for a fact their credit was not the best. So I don't know how far of a stretch of a reach this goes into, or if they just kind of just been very lenient upon this stuff. But again, they look at heavy stuff. They look, again, now this one in particular, they look to see if your student loans are delinquent or are in default, if you've had foreclosures. So you may see, that's why you see, I think personally, I see a lot of young people working for TSA. And that's, again, they haven't had those types of situations. They haven't had, a lot of young people haven't had bankruptcies, foreclosures. They may have student loan delinquencies, but again, as long as you get on a payment plan or put in deferment, you really don't have too much to worry about. So that's a phone call away. Okay. Then, of course, you have, almost messed this up here. And then last thing, well, no, two more. It's going to be law enforcement. Actually, one of my buddies of mine here in Chicago, they do a credit check. Not only that, but they also look to see if you have like any city tickets, or if you owe the city any kind of money. Look to my taxes, if you got speeding tickets, parking tickets, whatever. They want to make sure all that stuff is paid up before you even start working for them. Of course, you got to have your stuff in order, right? So, but again, they want to try to weed out. It's just a hiring process. They're trying to weed out certain people. And again, they're looking for the heavier stuff as well too. Foreclosures, bankruptcies, that type of stuff. But again, I don't think they're going to be that, picky upon it, but just keep in mind they do take a look at that. So if it comes down to two candidates and one has had a bankruptcy, the other one hasn't, they're probably going to choose the person that didn't have the bankruptcy. Okay, now you're probably like, well, I got hired and I had some negative stuff in my credit report. Well, they liked you, so just because they can check your credit, that doesn't necessarily mean there's an automatic decline. They may actually like the person, but just keep in mind, there may be a time where, they may have, your application may be next to someone else's. You want to give yourself the best shot at getting a job, right? And last but not least is a temporary job. Now, this one surprised me the most. Here's why I have to sit up for this one. Mainly because with a temporary job, you think like, well, the people are only going to have that job, temporarily, right? Well, that's the thing. Usually, sometimes with temporary jobs, even if they have you there for a few months and they have you go to somewhere else, they have to have everything prepared. So imagine if they didn't do the credit check, right? And then, of course, they have you go to a place where there are credit checks required. So now you could have got that good job. You could have got that good job and you could have became permanent. But because they didn't do it, because they didn't do the credit check. So again, a lot of times they'll do it. You may not even know that they did it, because they call it a background check. And during that background check, they not only look at to see if you got felonies and all that jazz, they also look at your credit history. But again, everyone doesn't have a bankruptcy. Everyone doesn't have a foreclosure. Everyone doesn't have, all like fraud type stuff on their credit report. But again, that plays a major role. And you're probably like, man, how come this company didn't call me back? Your credit could have played a role. And again, they don't have to disclose that information either. It's a Fair Credit Reporting Act. The only people that have to disclose why you got denied are people that you're looking to borrow money from, not denied for a job. Because again, there could be other factors they could probably blame it on as well too. But again, you want to make sure you have everything in order, because there are people that start off temporarily. I met a lady. She started off temporary and then they converted her over to full time. She makes 6 figures working from home, and she's like a bank, or she does something with a bank. It's actually Wells Fargo. So, and I don't know what kind of position that is, but she makes very good money. But I say that to say, I'm sure they checked her credit, prior to putting her in that position. And of course, she became permanent in a very high up position where you're dealing with finances and all that type of stuff. They have to make sure that there's no there's no potential of fraud happening or some type of security breach or something like that. They have to know what type of person that is. And unfortunately, they try to dress up who a person can be, or try to figure out who a person is based on their credit history. It plays a major role, guys. And we're not just talking about utilization, by the way. So that's why, just so you know, again, they cannot see your score. Why? Because a person can have everything in order. Or an emergency happens, they swipe that credit card, everything goes down, so they can't see the score. They can see the report, and that's all they can see. And there are the few states that I mentioned earlier that have limited access. They still can see stuff, but they have limited access. What that limit is, they can't tell me everything, right? So this is all just based on my research. But either way, of course, if you like this video, like it. If you want to share it, share it. And as always, if you want to subscribe and keep the great videos coming to you, then be sure to subscribe as well. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.